What is up, guys? Welcome into yet another edition of the Ben Garcia Show. A special edition of the Ben Garcia Show, but we'll get to that in just a second. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, tell a friend about the Ben Garcia Show. However you're watching, wherever you're watching, we appreciate you doing so today on a beautiful Tuesday. We got a lot of things to talk about today on the Ben Garcia Show, but one thing before we get into all the other topics that we got today, please follow me on all social media platforms at Ben Garcia Show. There's no reason to ask me which social media platforms I'm on because I am on all of them outside of Blue Sky, which is just a wannabe Twitter, and I have no interest in adding another social media platform to my Rolodex unless I really have to. So with that being the case, you can follow me on all social media platforms, TikTok, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, at Ben Garcia Show. Quick announcement, and you're going to get a heavy dose of this announcement today on the Ben Garcia Show, but biggest thing is trying out something different. I am an Arizona sports fan, but even before that, I'm an analyst, I'm an opinionist, I'm a broadcaster. I've been at Fox Sports 910. I've done work with Cronkite News. I work for Locked On Phoenix Suns now. I wear a lot of different hats. And I wanted to try something different on this show. I want to dive strictly into Arizona-based news, today being just the Arizona Cardinals. So if you like that, tell me that you like that. But I understand I have a diverse audience. I have 2,500 subscribers or something like that. Some of you might not all be Cardinals fans, and that might want you to go somewhere else, and that's okay. But this isn't a fan page. This is hard-hitting opinions on the team that I grew up watching. I'm not going to pull any punches. I'm not going to save anyone's ego. What I'm going to do is hold this team accountable, praise them when they need to be praised, and hold them accountable when it is okay to do so. So with that being said, let's jump right into it. So here's what I wanted to start the show off with for the Arizona Cardinals. Normally, I do little transitions, but since we're just focusing on one team today, I'm not going to worry about that. We're just going to let this roll for a bit. Tell me what you think about it. So the Arizona Cardinals, they go out and they beat the New England Patriots. And everyone is now sort of over the moon, cautiously optimistic, if you will, about this team's ability to get in the playoffs. And I tweeted this out because I thought we were all on the same page before the game on Sunday. And I tweeted out and said, shameless plug, at Ben Garcia Show on Twitter. And I said, it's a real shame that the Cardinals are not playing meaningful games in December. And that was met with very, very minimal backlash, but a little bit of backlash. And basically what I had said was for this rebuild to be successful, at some point you have to play meaningful games in December, in November. And I had someone reach out to me and say, well, what did you expect this team to be? And it was this idea that this team is achieving right now. If you expected anything more than 8-9, that's on you. Well, no, because I expected this team to be 9-8 to start the season. I had them being the final team in the playoffs, the 7th seed in the NFC. I have all those receipts. Go back and check them if you want. I did that on Fox Sports 910, broadcasting to a national audience. I'm not hiding from that opinion like some other people are. But here's the difference in the way that I roll things and the way that sometimes fans roll things, and oftentimes valued members of the media. I was one to say 9-8, 7th seed in the NFC playoffs, and then we'll see where it goes from there. But if they're 8-9, I'm not going to be disappointed. Here's the issue. The Cardinals showed me up until the bye week, I think it was week 11, where they were 6-4 on the season. You would be lying as a Cardinals fan, or as the person replying back to me, that this team hadn't changed your expectations. And so this idea that we have to change back to, this team, I'm just happy they're 8-9. That is a loser mentality. If you want to put the bird box glasses on and wave the pom-poms around, you go right ahead on and do so. I will not. I will hold this team accountable. And so, yes, at the beginning of the year, I thought they'd be 9-8 or 8-9, somewhere right around there. And I would have been perfectly okay with it if the season would have went as I thought the season was going to go. But the beautiful thing about sports is the season never goes how you expect it to go. If the Cardinals were 4-6 in week 11 and they went on a run and they finished the season 8-9, that is a completely different 8-9 than a team that was 6-4 at the bye week and then finished 8-9. But now that the Cardinals have beat the Patriots, and I think in one of the least convincing way possible, but heck, a win is a win, there is that jubilation or that restarted idea that this team is going to be a playoff team, or that they could be a playoff team. And I'll lay out the scenarios for you in just a second. But this is what I mean. You are already recalibrating your expectations. And that's what happens over the course of a season. Expectations change. So at the end of the year, if they finish 8-9, I'm not going to say, oh, by golly, they finished 8-9. That is an improvement of like 4 or 5 wins from last season or whatever the heck they were last year. That's an improvement. That's not where I stand. That'll be a disappointment to me because they were 6-4 going into the bye, going up against Sam Darnold, Geno Smith, Drake May, Bryce Young, and they should have won those games when they had the chance. They were up 19-6 on the Vikings. I was at that game in Minneapolis. They win that game, everything has changed. They're in the driver's seat to make the playoffs. We don't have to worry too much about the Seahawks. They could still lose to them. But that's not what happened. And that's how expectations change through the course of a season. So don't change your expectations and say, well, by golly, they're 8-9. Well, I'm just happy to be here. That is a loser mentality, and that is an enabling mentality. That is allowing the Cardinals to get away with mediocrity. And I won't stand for it. So you can yell at me in the comment section and tell me 8-9 is, by golly, that's good. No, it ain't. And you know it's not. And so here are the playoff scenarios for the Arizona Cardinals this week. Or I guess I should say throughout the rest of the week. So currently right now they're in third place in the NFC West. It doesn't really matter because they're 7-7 and the Rams are 8-6 and the Seahawks are 8-6 and the Rams have that tiebreaker against the Seahawks right now. So they're still in first place. But here is how the scenarios go out. There is no scenario, virtually no scenario, unless the Rams and Seahawks both lose 2 games, which I'm not really foreseeing. There is no scenario where the Arizona Cardinals can lose a singular game to end the season if they want to get in the playoffs. And even then, they need help. They could finish 10-7 theoretically and still miss the playoffs. But I've seen them do it, so I'm going to hold them to that standard. And if they don't win out the rest of the season, I will be disappointed. Now, if they miss the playoffs and they go 10-7, I'll be disappointed because they won 10 games and didn't make it. I'm not going to be disappointed because they missed the playoffs because God knows what reason. It was a really great year for the NFC, which none of us foresaw. But here's what has to happen. The Los Angeles Rams have the Jets, the Cardinals, the Seahawks. If they go 2-1 and that one loss comes to the Cardinals leapfrog them. The Seattle Seahawks, they have to lose 2 of 3 games, or they can go 2-1 and lose the Week 18 game. And you're going to say, well, how's that the case? I'm going to be honest with you. I have no flipping clue how that works out. I'm assuming because if they lose to the Rams, they would lose the tiebreaker to the Rams and not have enough divisional wins, if I'm not mistaken. But honestly, I don't really know, but that's the scenario you need to know. They need to lose 2 games unless they play the Rams to end the year. They win 2 straight games and lose to the Rams, and the Cardinals win out and the Cardinals get in. The question is not if Seattle and the Rams will lose a game. I couldn't care less about that. We are going to learn more than we bargained for one Kyler Murray. Kyler came out of this 3-week stretch against the Rams, against the Seahawks, and against the Vikings, and he lost all 3 of those games. And I've seen in the comment sections, I've seen in videos, I've seen from people coddling Kyler Murray. And my excuse, or my question is, why? Why are you coddling your quarterback? Are you so scared to wonder if you have the right guy at quarterback that you're coddling him? Kyler, at this point, has a chance to right all wrongs. But the only way he's going to do that is by winning these 3 games. He needs to beat the Panthers on Sunday. And I'm going to be honest with you, I don't feel great about the Cardinals' odds. Panthers are playing some decently good football recently. Traveling to Carolina has never been a special skill set of the Cardinals. And the Carolina Panthers, ever since that 2015 game, in the NFC Conference Championship game, have always seemed to have the number of the Arizona Cardinals. So there's that I kind of worry about against Carolina Panthers. Just a bad history. Panthers are playing better. Bryce Young is kind of playing for his job. Not really. They're probably going to keep him around anyways. That's been reported. That's been speculated. Even if they beat them, and they should. If they lose, that's an indictment on the offense. That's an indictment on Drew Petzing. That's an indictment on Kyler Murray. But even if they win that game, and they they lose to the Rams, they're done. And you're playing a meaningless Week 18 game. And I'll be honest with you. You ask for, oftentimes, well, what do you think? This Cardinals team has showed me, if anything, over the past 15 weeks, that they are incredibly inconsistent. They are consistently inconsistent, if that's the way you want to put it. And I need them to step up to the plate. And a lot of this falls on Jonathan Gannon. This Cardinals team, I understand they're one of the best teams in the NFL in terms of penalties given up. Here's the problem with that. It feels like recently, for the Arizona Cardinals, they've had a lot of penalties. And those are breeded from sloppy football. And it just feels like penalties are coming more often for this Cardinals team. And I understand some of this is maybe just me getting upset and not really a larger picture. But they've got to play clean. They've got to play concise. And they've got to play hard-nosed football. They got to come out with their hair on fire. And a lot of that falls on Jonathan Gannon, the head coach. JG has got to get this team ready to play. It will be an indictment on him and his coaching style and his ability to lead this team if he doesn't get them to play these next 3 weeks. You can lose to the Rams. I will give you that. But it better be by a game-winning field goal. It better be by something so uberly close that you can just say at the end of the day, we were not ready for the moment yet. But Jonathan Gannon, at times, has not gotten this team up to play. I'm citing the Vikings game in the second half. I'm citing the Seattle Seahawks twice. One of them coming off of a bye. They were just flat. They were dead on arrival. And that cannot happen if you're Jonathan Gannon, the head coach of the Arizona Cardinals. He needs to be speaking with Drew Petzing, saying, hey man, we got to take some shots downfield. We cannot be conservative. We are the hunters. We are not the hunted. This team is the Detroit Lions from a few years ago, where you can take risks, where you can throw the ball downfield, where you can no risk it, no biscuit. And you know what happens? Cardinals fans like that. The media likes that. You're willing to take risks. You're willing to take shots downfield. Be a risk taker. Be charismatic. Make a stupid play downfield every so often. Trust your wide receivers. Get your team ready to play. That is on you, JG. Because there has been times that Jonathan Gannon has not got this team ready to play. And it seems like at times they're also just playing scared. And playing scared is not in the recipe of winning meaningful games. I don't know what it is with Jonathan Gannon. At some point, sometimes, he plays too much like a defensive head coach. Conservative, throw the ball prior to the sticks, let your playmakers try to make a play. And it hasn't worked. JG and Drew Petzing are under a microscope just as much as Kyler Murray. But even more so, it is on JG. Jonathan Gannon has to get this team ready to play. They have to be ready to go 3-0. Because if the Seahawks, for some reason, still stay ahead of the Cardinals after these past 3 weeks, or after these next 3 weeks, and the Rams as well somehow stay ahead of the Cardinals after the end of these 3 weeks, and they fail to get in the playoffs, listen, man, you go 10-7 and miss the playoffs. Bruce Arians did that as well in 2013 as his first year as the Arizona Cardinals head coach. We're all going to be collectively disappointed, but not in you, but because the NFC was so flippin' good. That's just what happens. That is the life of being a good team that just misses the playoffs. But these are culture wins. These next 3 weeks against the Panthers, against the Rams, and against the 49ers are so important for the culture of this team to set them up for success in the future. Because in the offseason, you are going to spend money, and we all know you're going to spend money, and you're going to bring in players, and you're going to make this team ready to compete for the first time in this franchise over the last 5 years. So you have to set them up for that success. So whether you make the playoffs or not, and go 10-7 or not at the end of the year, you have to set this team up for success. You have to leave a taste in their mouth of winning. And that's what we need to see. That's what we need to see over the next 3 weeks. JG is under a microscope. If they completely crumble, we are going to have the conversation of, do we have the right guy? Doesn't mean that they're going to fire him, but it does mean that we're going to have the conversation of if they have the right guy. And it's the same thing with Kyler. Kyler is under that same microscope. And, I talked about Kyler a little bit. I want to briefly touch on Kyler just a little bit further as we continue just a Cardinal Straight episode of the Ben Garcia Show. Kyler Murray, I think I let Kyler Murray off way too easy on Sunday. And shame on me for doing so. I cannot believe I didn't mention the horrific interception that never was. But Kyler Murray's judgment over the past few weeks has been, for lack of a better term, awful. He had a horrendous interception to Kobe Bryant against the Seahawks a few weeks ago. Then he had a horrendous interception to Byron Murphy the next week against the Vikings. And then the next week after that, he had a horrendous interception to Kobe Bryant and another interception to a guy that I cannot remember against the Seahawks. 2 horrendous interceptions. That's 4 awful, inexcusable interceptions from Kyler Murray over the past 3 weeks against the Seahawks, Vikings, and then Seahawks once again. And then he followed it up this past week with the most boneheaded interception of them all against the Patriots. And he was bailed out by a flag that was absolutely a flag. You can't hit a quarterback high. But the flag itself had no implications towards the interception that was thrown. Just a boneheaded decision. Kyler Murray must play clean, concise football. It almost feels like he thinks he has to make a play because he doesn't get all the opportunities that he wants under Drew Petzing's offense. So it almost feels like he thinks he has to make a play. And he's making things happen. And he's doing what? Too much. Kyler needs to dial it back. There's a difference between being aggressive, which we all want, and being reckless. And Kyler Murray has been reckless over the past month against the Seahawks, against the Vikings, against the Seahawks again, and the interception that never was against the New England Patriots. We cannot have any more of those. If Kyler follows up those 4 weeks with horrendous interceptions, with this week, with another bad interception against the Carolina Panthers, we are going to have a talk about Kyler Murray's judgment, which we've never really talked about in Kyler Murray's tenure. But it almost feels like he thinks he has to make a play because he doesn't get a lot of opportunities to throw the ball downfield. There's a difference between being aggressive and being reckless. And over the past few weeks, Kyler has been reckless and just downright stupid. Kyler has to be better. He's a $45 million man. And to everyone out there saying, where would you be without Kyler Murray? How dare you go after Kyler? Oh, well, you would be A, not a playoff team without Kyler, and B, still not a playoff team with Kyler. What is your point? Hold your quarterback accountable. And part of that is Kyler needs better judgment. There's a difference between being aggressive and running around and scrambling and finding a guy downfield and reckless throwing the ball to the other team. And that is largely what Kyler Murray has done over the past few weeks. All right. Now that we're done roasting Kyler Murray, let's finish up here. There was a report from Craig Morgan, does amazing work. Craig Morgan is one of the more esteemed writers in Arizona sports media history. And it's so crazy. He is such a nice guy. I've talked with Craig a few times on the sidelines during training camp and just being able to get to know him. Really good guy. Trust his reporting. So we're going to react to something he reported on Sunday after the Cardinals game. And we're almost going to react as if we know that the Cardinals are going to get an extension with Budda Baker because it just feels like that's what's going to happen. But let's say this. The report is that the Cardinals and Budda Baker are talking extension, which basically means at this point, there could be an extension already lined out for Budda. Doesn't mean I know how much it is or whatever, but by this time this comes out, if there's an extension, I'll just put it in the lower third at one point. But, and I don't just want to talk Budda's extension because what the Cardinals are doing is something that they haven't done ever as an organization. They're rewarding not just players and their play on the field, but the person. And that's what they've done over the past few weeks with an extension to James Conner and with the report coming out that they are talking an extension with Budda Baker. They are saying, we understand that the market says you're a declining player, you're a running back, James Conner, or you're a safety, not a super valuable position in the NFL anymore, Budda Baker. But they're investing in the people, not just the players. And James Conner is heck of a leader in the locker room. And not just James Conner, but Budda Baker is an elite leader in the locker room. Years ago, we saw the video of Budda in the locker room saying, I'm tired of losing, watch more film, recover better, practice harder, whatever it was. Budda was leading the team. That was with Kyler. That was with Cliff Kingsbury. That team was in desperate need of a leader, and Budda Baker was that guy. And the Cardinals, and this is something that cannot be overstated with this team, they're rewarding people just as much as the players. They said, you know what? We've got a lot of cap space. You guys are very serviceable player, that being James Conner, that being Budda Baker. We don't care if the market says you're declining. You are so valuable as a person and as a leader to this locker room. We cannot let you go. And sometimes fans and sometimes nerds, nerdy fans will say, well, he's going to be 29, 30 years old. Budda Baker, come on, guys. What are we doing? He's going to decline. It doesn't matter. You're not paying DTR. You're not paying Jack Rabbit Robinson for some reason. Demerson Taylor Robinson on this team. You're not paying him. You're probably going to cut Jalen Thompson at this point if you're going to re-sign Budda Baker. You'll be fine. and you've got $110 million plus this offseason, you can spend a little bit more on your leaders. James Conner as well. This was the same story. Approaching 30-year-old running back. Potentially over-the-hill running back. You can draft another guy. Every team needs another running back. You can draft Cam Scatabo. You can draft whoever it is coming out of the draft, and you'll be just fine. These are leaders to your team. These are organizational voices. These are both potential Ring of Honor guys. Budda Baker, potentially even a Hall of Famer. He's been 9 straight Pro Bowls. He is definitely on the path of potentially being that guy. They're investing in the people as much as they are the players. They are building a culture. That's what those two guys symbolize. They symbolize a culture for this Arizona Cardinals team. They are the heartbeat of the offense, that being James Conner, and the defense of that being Budda Baker. And they said immediately, when they had Budda Baker, years ago, when JG and Monty Ossenfort stepped in that room and they said, those are the guys I want to build my franchise around. If I could have 53 Budda Bakers and 53 James Connors, I would sign up for that. And that's what they're doing. So I understand you could argue maybe they overpaid a little bit for James Conner. I don't care. This organization is in desperate need of a complete and utter remodel and tear down. And that's what James Conner does offensively. You think Kyler Murray changes his mentality without having James Conner there? You're crazy. Same with Budda Baker. You think guys mature and put their body on the line and not want to let one another down because they learned that themselves? No, that's Budda. And it also shows the competency that Steve Keim and Cliff Kingsbury never had. Jonathan Gannon and Monty Ossenfort said, we are going to invest in leaders of this team, not just the play, although both of their play have been very good. But they're getting older. The market says to let them go. They say, no, your leadership is too valuable to this team. And that's what they're doing. They're willing to overpay for that. And you know what else they're doing? Cannot be overstated as well. They didn't let either of them get to the point of testing free agency. Budda Baker at one point demanded a trade from this team. And now he's likely going to sign an extension. Or by the time this video comes out, signed an extension. That is a testament to the competency of JG and Monty Ossenfort. That is something this team and this organization has never had. Never. That should put a smile on your face. So to have those two guys locked up, it will happen long term. Just a plus thing for both Monty and JG. And as I was trying to say a second ago, before I got so rudely interrupted by myself, them not allowing them to even go test free agency, like the Giants did with Saquon Barkley, how did that work out? How did it work out when they let Saquon Barkley, their franchise cornerstone, test free agency? Barkley probably felt disrespected. Didn't give them a chance to match. The Cardinals made James Conner and Budda Baker priorities. And that is night and day than what this organization used to do. They didn't pull a Saquon Barkley with the Giants and let him go test free agency and say, please come back and let us get a chance to match. No. They said, you're not even going to test free agency because we value you as not just players, but as people to this team and as leaders to this locker room. That is what the report of already signing James Conner has done and working on an extension with Budda Baker. That is the progression I wanted to see from this Cardinals front office. Competency, cohesion, and a belief in not just players, but the people off the field that help glue this team together. Bravo, Monty Ossenfort, for seeing that and making it happen. Bravo to JG, who as soon as he walked in basically said, I want to build my team around Budda Baker and James Conner. If I could have 53 of those players, I would do it. Bravo from the Cardinals, who largely have been an incompetent organization that are starting to turn the corner. All right, guys. That's all you guys got from me today. Full 30-something minutes of talking Arizona Cardinals football. I'll break up the segments like I always do here at the Ben Garcia Show, Ben Garcia Production Company, where it's really just a fancy word for saying me. Let me know if this is what you guys want. Just Arizona content, whether it's Cardinals, maybe some D-backs, maybe some Sun stuff. Maybe I do a little bit over here as well. Let me know if this is something that you think you'd be very interested in. But either way, at the end of the day, I am Benjamin Garcia, and I will talk to you guys on Friday, potentially. We'll see how these things do. Maybe I still get a Thursday Night Football reaction out. Maybe I talk some more preview Arizona Cardinals, Carolina Panthers. Those juices are still flowing. Those things are still going up in my brain cells. So either way, don't forget to follow me on all social media platforms at Ben Garcia Show. And until next show, I'm Benjamin Garcia, and it's been the Ben Garcia Show.